Hey, welcome to the Planner Coven. I'm Simone, and today we're going to talk about where I started the year versus where I am now. How did we get here? So I started the year out in Hobonichi planners, an A5 Han, and a Hobonichi Weeks. The Han was my main planner. If you've never seen the Han, it's basically a Hobonichi cousin with a hardcover. I modified the plastic cover a bit. I punched a hole in the spine and put an elastic closure in. I also punched 2 holes in the back cover to create a page keeper. Similar to the Hobonichi page keepers, but less bulky because it's actually built into the planner and does not require like a pocket to put the page keeper in. I also put the pencil board, the grid pencil board that comes with the Han, in the back of the cover, and I slit a hole into the side so that the pen loop could go through it. That way the pen loop is super secure. So I would put my pen in like this. It would fit very well. It would be very, very secure. And then I would close it like this, and it was very neat and tidy. Inside, I had some papers that I no longer need, so I'll take those out. Here on the front page, I had some Ghibli stamps. I had Kiki and Totoro and Kiki's bread sign. My nephew did some art for me. He drew Totoro, which is so cute. This 2024 decal is from the Coffee Monsters Co. You'll see quite a bit of deco in this planner. Well, quite a bit. For me, the decoration has always been pretty minimal, but I did decorate this planner beforehand at the beginning of the year. And a lot of it was with print-on stickers because that minimizes the bulk with the Tomoe River paper. You can see this page, I'm using the exact same way as in my rings. I have it here. I'm just putting a cat sticker on a month as it goes by, and I was using it the same way here. The only difference is that instead of this year, the previous year, and the next year being on one layout, it's on two pages because the paper is smaller. But that does not matter to me. What does matter is the first functional spread in the Hobonichi cousin, or Han, excuse me. And this I have always used for mood tracking, and recently when I became a full-time novelist, to track my daily word count. So this was perfect for a 1 to 10 mood scale because there are 10 blank grid spaces in each column, which is very satisfying. So this did not translate quite as easily into my personal rings. I did show this last time. So I am using this insert from Peanuts Planner Co. successfully. However, there are 7 grid spaces in each column versus 10. So I had to amend my 1 to 10 scale a little bit. I just condensed it at the lower end and the very high end. So 5, 6, 7, and 8, which is where I am most of the time and where I want to be most of the time, I left as 1 square per number. But at the lower end, I have 1 being 1 square, 2 being the line, and 3 being the next square. So it's just sort of more condensed, if that makes sense. Otherwise, I'm using it the exact same way. And I can see half the year on one side, half the year on the other, which works really well. I was tracking birthdays here. I have not put birthdays in here yet, but I should. No reason not to. You can see there's room down here for some decoration. These are all print-on stickers, really beautiful ones. There's no room for that in the personal ring insert because the paper is so much smaller. But I don't feel like I'm losing out on deco. in the rings. In fact, I feel as though I have an excess of decoration opportunities because I have things such as the pockets in the beginning and room for dashboards and things like that, which I don't have or did not have in the cousin. So I would have to take some space from functional spreads if I wanted to do any sort of decoration at all, which I did successfully. So let's move on to the monthly pages. This will look familiar if you saw my last video because this is how I'm still using the monthly pages in my rings. Let's go to last month. So, the main difference, this is January in the cousin, this is January in the rings. The biggest difference is that there is not this plethora of space around the functional boxes. So I actually put my monthly prompts on a piece of paper and sandwiched it between the monthly pages. And this actually works a little better because now I'm able to do my monthly reflection on the same piece of paper and have it within context of the month. Whereas in the cousin, I would have to do my reflection on a daily page in the back and index it here, which was not a big deal. It just meant that if I wanted to see this monthly reflection, I would have to find it in the back. And now I don't have to do that. And in fact, there's more room for prompts. There's more room for my reflection, and it's just all around easier. As you can see, I did have room to add some decoration in the months, but I don't think I'm going to keep doing that moving forward. This is just too much decoration for me, so I prefer it to be more simple and functional. So I'm going to do that moving forward and keep my decoration on like dashboards and stuff. It just keeps it a little bit more streamlined, I think. Let's move to the weeks. Let's find a week to compare. Okay, so let me go to the weeks. And let me find this week for you. It's here in the beginning. The 8th through the 14th. Okay, so you can see I'm using the weeks in the exact same way. I think the only difference is that I'm not adding any decoration. It's purely functional. And I was tracking the weather at the top with icons, and there's not enough room to do that at the top. Although I am now tracking the weather at, not the weather, the temperature. So that is weather. So I'm tracking the high and the low temperature at the top. There's just enough room for that, but no icons. But other than that, I don't think I'm losing any functionality at all. I'm still tracking my sleep. I'm still tracking my day hourly. The timeline is a little shorter. It starts at 7, whereas in the cousin, it starts at 5. But as you can see, most of that time for me was sleeping. I have chronic fatigue. I have to sleep like 9 hours a day. I don't wake up before like 8 most of the time, as you can see. I did wake up at 7:30 here, so that was a success. But anyway, so the hour timeline functionally is still perfect for me, and I still have room at the bottom to do my daily gratitude. And it's actually better in the personal because there's less room, which means I have to think about it less. I think with something like gratitude, if you give yourself too much space, it becomes a burden. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to write the same thing over and over again. Whereas on this page, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, I have 5 lines. So 5 tiny little words that I have to come up with every day versus on this page, I think it was 8 or 9. So definitely not losing any functionality here. I think I mentioned the only weird thing to get used to is that in the Hobonichi and in most planners, the sidebar for tasks and things and notes is on the left, whereas in these Reime inserts, it's on the right. So Monday through it's Monday through Thursday on this left page instead of Monday through Wednesday, and then Thursday through Friday through Sunday being on the right. So that was a little bit of a change, but I'm getting used to it. It's not a big deal. Although it does make me wonder why they chose to do it this way, where most planners do it this way. Regardless, not losing any functionality at all. And then we go to the daily pages. Now, this is where I thought I would lose out most of my functionality moving into rings because the pages are so much smaller, but I did not. And in fact, it's working even better. So, first I will show you how I used these pages in the Cousin. You can see it better on a blank page. Do you see this invisible line here? Invisible line. It's a line that is slightly darker than the lines than the rest of the grid. So Hobonichi calls it an invisible grid. It basically divides the page into a couple of sections. It starts at the top and it ends a little more than halfway down on the page. It ends where this timeline ends. So this naturally creates, in my brain, 3 sections. One section is over here where the timeline is. One section is here to the right of that, and then there's one section at the bottom. Excuse me, I need some water. Welcome to Pemberley. I would use this section for tasks and rapid logging. I would use this section for what I call micro journaling. And then I would use the bottom, I would consider that a free space or a note paper or excess journaling space if I needed it. So here's how I would use that functionally. You can see on this page, I used almost the full page for micro journaling and most of the rapid locking space for tasks. On this space, I used a lot less of that. So at the beginning of each month, I would actually create a monthly index. And I use this to keep track of what I call blank pages. So this, February 5th, I actually consider this a blank page. Because even though I used the rapid locking section for tasks and part of the journaling space, I did not use any of this space down here, which I consider note paper or free space. So I actually leave that blank in the index. You can see the third is the same. This is actually a fully blank page. But this page, I consider it full because I used the free space. Because these planners do not come with a lot of blank paper in the back, blank note paper, you have to sort of use the dailies as note paper in a way that makes sense to you. So this is the way that made sense for me. So the January 1st, even though I used the task list, the journaling section, I did not use the free space down here, so I consider this a blank page. So I left that space in the index blank. So then if I need note paper, I can just go back to the monthly index, find the first blank page, and go back to use it. You can see on the 6th, I did use the note paper space. So this is just some notes from our book club. That was not on this day, but I just went to the closest blank page, quote unquote blank page, and used that note space and then put it in here. Does that make sense? I came up with that system because this book does not come with a lot of note paper in the back. Now, I found these inserts from Raymay. I mentioned them in my last video. They are called the meeting notebook inserts. They are made with Turnwood River paper. They're cream, so beautiful. And they have this space at the top, which is very reminiscent of the space here that I would use for tasks and rapid logging. So this translates very nicely for me. And then my micro journaling space is down here at the bottom. and continues on the back. Now you might be asking, well, that's not a lot of space for notes if you need it. No, but you know what's great is that now I actually have actual note paper that I can pull from if I need it. So I no longer need to like keep track of any blank space or be cognizant of however much space I'm using on a daily basis, because I have the freedom of note paper to pull from in the back and actually insert it into the context of the dailies if I need to. So here's how I'm using these. I showed this in my last video. I do tip in things on a daily basis. You can see I usually use most of the space, and occasionally I do need a little bit more space, and I can add in half a page of an insert, a tip in, if you will. High heels on my tip ins. Okay, I need help. And so that is working really, really well. And if I need, like I said, note paper, I actually have a notes section with paper in the back. So functionally, this actually works a lot better because I don't have to do sort of like a workaround to make note paper for myself on pages that have already been used. I hope that makes sense. Trying to explain my own system that's in my head to other people is hard. Words are hard. So in the back of the cousin, in the blank pages that there are, I think there are like 5 or 6. I had a pen testing page, 2 blank pages, and then 2 other pages that I use for my collections. And I actually have a dedicated collections section in my planner now. So now they all have their own pages, and I don't have to copy this from planner to planner when I move to a new one or anything like that. I can just take these inserts out and move them, and that is a great thing. What I also have in the back here, the My 100 list I used to keep track of TV shows, books, and movies. Sorry if you can hear slurping. The dog drinks water very loudly. And honey, she's thirsty. So TV shows I would log in black, books I would log in blue, movies I would log in green. And yes, it is cool that that would all be listed on one full page or one spread in the year. I much prefer having them all with their own trackers. So this is my TV show tracker. I can actually track episodes now, not just, writing down what season I'm on. And the movie log, there's more space horizontally, so I can track the day that I watched it and my rating of the movie. And books have their own section now, which I've added since the last one, or I've updated since my last video. I am printing the covers out on translucent matte sticker paper, which is really satisfying. And these rating stickers are from the Coffee Monsters Co. They're really cute. And this is on 5mm grid Tomoe River paper. And so I have all the books I've read so far in the year and the next few books on my TBR. And this is a lot more satisfying than just having them in a list, because I can write down notes. I can sort of do my own review of the book. And the only other page I was using back here was the 365-day checklist. I was using this as a temperature tracker, and I showed this in my last video. I'm using this page for that. So very similar. It's inspired by the temperature blankets that people knit, but I'm not about to knit a blanket every day. So I just color in the day based on the high on the right, the low temperature on the left, and I just give each temperature range a color. So this will be like a year in pixels at the end of the year. It would have been cool to have the full year on one page like this. My personal insert has it on 2 pages, but it'll still be very satisfying, and this is actually much easier to color in because the space to color in is a little bit bigger than these small circles. I think that's everything. The only thing additionally that I have in my rings that I did not have in the cousin is a sketch section. I would do random sketches on daily pages, but it's nice to have a dedicated space. Now, the other book that I was using was the Hobonichi Weeks. And I modified this cover in much the same way. I punched the spine, put an elastic closure in, and I put in a page keeper. So at the beginning of this book is the yearly overview, and this is what I was using to track my weight. So at the beginning of the year, I was tracking it every day, and I was like, fuck that. So I started to do it once a week, and I moved this to the monthly section of my health and fitness section in my personal rings. So these are May monthly inserts. They're undated, but it has this nice dated list on the side. So instead of like a blank sidebar to do tasks and stuff, it has a dated sidebar, which is useful for my weight tracking because I do it once a week. So I just match up the day and do my tracking on that side. Not quite as satisfying because I won't have all of my weight tracking on one spread, but functionally it still works really well. And like I mentioned in the last video, I track my steps here and my workouts, and I highlight them in green if I reach my goal. And then on the weekly section of my fitness journal, I track my meals. And I actually found inserts that look exactly like the Hobonichi Weeks setup. So I just track my food. On the left side, I have snacks on this inside margin, and then I do micro journaling on a daily basis here. The only difference is that in the back, I was doing more long form journaling, and I have yet to do that in this section. But if I want to do that, of course, I have note paper that I can pull from and just put it at the back of this section and use it the same way, functionally. So that's where we are. And one additional thing that I use in my rings that I did not have a functional place for in either of these books is a monthly inbox or a master to-do list. So typically what I would do is I would just have a running weekly list, and that would function as my master to-do list. Let me go to a week. So I would just have like this. I would have a super long list every single week, and that would be my master to-do list, and I would just move it each week, which of course was annoying. But now I have a master to-do list at the front, which also functions as like an inbox, I guess. And so this just lives at the front, and I can insert new pages as needed. And I can have a new one for each month and move things on a monthly basis instead of a weekly basis. And that works really well. As you can see, I've gotten a lot done this month that usually all this would like disappear from my brain because I would see it every day as I was on, I would be doing my hourly timeline every day, and I would see this list on the side, and it would just become blurry. But now I check this. I check it fewer times. I check it like once or twice a week to get my weekly to-do list. And then those tasks become a little bit more urgent because I'm not seeing them all the time. Does that make any sense at all? Does anybody else just like not register things that they see all the time? I guess it's like object permanence, maybe. Or the opposite of object permanence. If I see it all the time, it basically disappears. But if I see it pop up every now and then, it becomes more salient or more urgent. I don't know if that makes any sense, but for me, it works really, really well. And I also like that in my rings, I have this notepad in the back. I've used this so much in the past couple of weeks. I wrote a note to someone, like a phone number, just ripped it out. I wrote a quick grocery list, ripped it out, so that I could just take those where I needed them without having to take my whole planner or to just give somebody a note or something. So that has worked really well. There's no way to functionally do that with these bound books. So that is where we are versus where we started. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, it doesn't sound like there was anything wrong with your original system. And you would be right. There was functionally nothing wrong with this system. I was quite happy. I was content. I was satisfied. Every day I opened these books and I would be filled with joy because I love this artwork. I love the paper. I love the feel of the bound books. It was great. So why did I even try rings? Well, I watched people on Instagram and YouTube and was influenced, of course. Namely, Evergreen Inks and Sleepy Notes Club. Those are my two like main squeezes when it comes to rings. I just watch their videos over and over again because it's very satisfying and I love their setups. And I was planning to do, get it? Planning. I was planning to do one book July in rings in July, but then this planner came up on sale and I had some rebates and I could get it for less than $20. And I was like, well, there's no reason for me to save up until July anymore when I can get this planner for so cheap. And that is why I got it. And then when I actually got it in my hands, I was like, I don't think I can wait until July. So then I set it up just to play with it. I replicated a few layouts from here, and then it just started to click really, really fast. And I couldn't say no. I couldn't resist what was happening. That being rings was becoming my dedicated system. It was working better than these books overall. And I got over the guilt pretty quickly. The guilt being there was nothing wrong with these books. And in fact, I agonized at the end of last year, like a lot of people in the planner community do. I agonized last year over which books I would choose for the year, because with bound books, you have to be a little bit more strategic about what you choose, because it's not like a ring planner where you can change the inserts based on how you feel, or you can create your own system using a bunch of different kinds of inserts. You have to use what you are given, or you have to pick from what is available. So I had purchased quite a few different planners. I purchased a common planner, like the 2-book system, and in A5. I purchased the common planner in the weeks size, the full year. And I had a cousin Avec as an option because I love the happier version and I love using the Hobonichi covers on a cousin because it lets you sort of change those out based on moods. And then they came out with the A5 Han and it fucked me up because I love this cover so much. I love this art and I couldn't resist it. And that is why I got these two planners. So what that left me with was quite a few planners that I had to sell or give away or get rid of in some way because I wasn't going to use them, or they would just sit on my shelf unused. And then I had to commit to these two books for the entire year, which I was really worried about even from the beginning because I know I've never lasted a full year in one planner. But I think that's one of the benefits of rings, right? Because whatever doesn't work, I can change within the same system. The guts of the planner can stay the same, or I can change them based on however I want to use them. And I can change the cover without changing the guts. But that is impossible with a bound planner. Now, there is a sort of satisfaction, like, bound book satisfaction is a thing. Hashtag bound book satisfaction. That you don't get from rings. But I think the pros, for me, at this point, outweigh the bound planner system by leaps and bounds. So anyway, that is where we were. This is where we are. This is where we started. This is where we've ended. And this in itself is just a beginning. So thanks for being here. Stay magical. Like and subscribe. That'd be a big help. Follow me over on Instagram. I'm active there every day. And I hope to see you all again soon. Bye.